Welcome back to The Net Result, the podcast where we explore marketing, innovation, and growth strategies for the senior living industry. I'm your host, Ben Smith, a senior living growth partner with WSI. Through the show, we uncover stories and solutions from leaders who are making a difference in how senior living is designed, operated, and experienced. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches both design and dignity, biophilic design. Our guest, Grant Leishman, is a passionate entrepreneur who's helping senior living communities reconnect with nature and create healthier environments through innovative, nature-inspired products. We'll hear about Grant's leap into entrepreneurship at 47, wellness impact of bringing the outdoors in, and how thoughtful design can be a powerful tool for both resident experience and a marketing advantage. So, Grant, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. Let's start with the heart of your work. Maybe you can explain the concept of biophilic design for those unfamiliar with it. I know I've never heard that word before, so tell us a little bit about what that means.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it's something we are certainly very passionate about here. And in its simplest form, biophilic design and biophilia just talks about that feeling that we get, that we all know and we all understand how being in nature and around natural things makes us feel better. Right. So I'm sure there's a more formal definition, but that's really the way we use it. And it's just this feeling. And I think we all identified, we all know that we feel better if we go for a walk outside or if we have plants in our homes or in our offices or just to be around nature. And it's not necessarily only plants, even things like natural wood products, natural stone products. All of these things bring a biophilic benefit and just gives us that feeling of being with nature and just makes us happier and feel healthier and be more productive.
Mm-hmm. So, in other words, for those who want to know what it means visually, it's what's behind you on your wall,
Exactly.
right? That's biophilic design. Okay,
It's some of that stuff. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So, tell us a bit more about how your products help bring nature's indoors in
Sure.
an environment like a senior living community, maybe.
Yeah. So we really offer three ranges of products. The first product being the most biophilic, I guess, is the living wall. So we can put live plants. We have two systems that we use to put live plants on a wall. So you have this vertical green wall, and probably a lot of people have seen them. There's certainly tons of them on our website. And what you're doing is you're creating a system and a space inside most of the time. We do them outside as well, but what we're talking about, I think, is inside a space where you can have these live plants on the wall and get all the benefits from having the live plants. Not just do they look good and feel good, but they also have obviously the natural air cleaning properties. They reduce the amount of noise. They're great noise absorbers. So if you're in an echoey entrance hall, if you go into a restaurant that has a big open space, if they've used plants well in that space, it absorbs a lot of the noise, makes it much easier to have a conversation with each other. So that's what we do. And I think for us, and particularly when we look at the senior living space, I think the ability to bring plants inside, I think a lot of people, your customers, I guess, will be people that have maybe lived in a house and had a garden their whole life. And now suddenly they're maybe a bit more restricted living in a senior environment and missing that opportunity to interact with nature more directly. And by bringing the live plants in, it's a great way for them to do that and just to have it in their space. But also, we also offer lower maintenance options. So we offer preserved moss walls. So the wall that's behind me is preserved moss. It has no maintenance, which is great. I think for your customers who are running senior living facilities, that's probably a very appealing option because you still get that greenery. And when you touch it, it feels and looks alive. People can't believe it doesn't have to be watered. And then we also do artificial plants. And the artificial plants, like the bamboo behind me, is so good these days. It's really, really hard to tell that it isn't real. And so although it doesn't have an air cleaning property, it still has that feeling of being in nature. And it still brings all of those benefits. So we offer all three of those to make sure we can cater for anybody that wants to bring greenery into their space.
That's wonderful. I know you mentioned that they're not just decorative elements; they serve a purpose too, from the air cleaning and wellness benefits. How can the biophilic design elements provide kind of that wellness benefit for both residents and staff? How does it impact the air quality and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, there are varying studies in terms of how much we all know, we know that plants, use up carbon dioxide, that, produce oxygen. So it does have some of those effects, the way we see it, the biggest effects it has on health and happiness is aesthetic first, right? It looks beautiful. Interacting with it, so that opportunity, particularly if people are given the opportunity to potentially take care of some of those live plants, and that can be really good for people who are, living in particularly assisted living and restricted sort of facilities like that. It can be very good like that. And then there are various studies that just talk about productivity increases in offices for people just feeling better for having the plants around them. And then noise reduction is a really, so they have very good acoustic benefits.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can see how that would
Yeah,
play a role in kind of an echoey space that would
exactly.
produce a lot of noise otherwise. Great. From a marketing standpoint, why do you think these elements help make an indoor environment like a senior living community easier to promote or stand out in a competitive landscape for those in the audience who are marketing directors and trying to
Yeah.
sell their community?
My expectation, and they'll know this much better than me, so I'm guessing a little bit, but my expectation is particularly in the high end facilities, people are looking for something. They're looking for a way to stand out. They're looking to create a wow as people come in the front door, because we make so many of our decisions, although we think through things, so many of our decisions, big life decisions like that, are made the minute we walk through the front door. And we see it with luxury home builders spending a lot of money on biophilia at the entrance, even though they're selling a home that's worth millions and millions of dollars. That impact of the plants. And so I think you'd have that same effect in an assisted living facility, and particularly I think where people are coming in maybe with their family, and it looks like a space that people care about. People put plants into a space that they care about, especially high quality plants, right? We're not talking about a plastic wall put up that, we're talking about people that have, where it's carefully curated, it fits in with the rest of the furniture, and it's designed, and it makes it look like a place where people care. And if people can look after live plants, chances are they can look after the people in the community, chances are they can keep it clean. All of those things that are the things I guess you'd consider as you consider moving into a community like that, I think would be illustrated by the way that plants and just generally the way the place is decorated. But I think plants add a big piece to that because it just adds that natural element. It's not just a piece of furniture.
Right, right. I assume that the first impression would be both visual and probably it would just smell better too with
Yeah,
the air
yeah,
cleansing properties of the
yeah,
live plants.
exactly right.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about where the pieces are typically placed and how you go about kind of designing the use of plants. Is it something you do on site? Is it typically handled through like a phone call or what happens?
Yeah, so we'll often work with the architect or the interior designer
Okay.
who will have looked. Normally what will happen is people will, hopefully that happens from this podcast, right? People go, the process would be, I see something on Instagram, I'm looking for design ideas, I go to Material Bank or wherever I go to get my design ideas, and I see and I understand the benefits of having plants. So now I'm looking at my space and I'm going, where could I use something like this in here? We're happy to get involved very early in the process and brainstorm with the designer or the property manager around what where can we use it? What are you trying to achieve? How much budget have you got? Because we have solutions across all budgets. And how do we implement this? So our products range, and Greenwalls in general range from big projects that are done at the time of building a new facility or completely doing a fit out, where you can build a big green wall, big living wall, and you're going to put in drainage and gutters and run a water supply, and you're going to do all of that. So that's one stage of the project. And then we have other solutions where we can just add the plants with no contracting needed. So we can go from as small as I have a 24-inch square planter that takes 16, and you could put that into a waiting room or a meeting room, or you could, there are a million ways to do it. So it ranges. And so it's really, we try to be as consultative as possible and to talk to the designers and understand what the goal is that they're trying to achieve. And from there, we present them with a product that we believe is appropriate, as opposed to attacking it from a product point of view and going, you need a green wall. Right? Everyone knows they need greenery, they need biophilia. Let's get involved early and talk about what we can do to help that happen.
Sure. Yeah, more of a cohesive design
Yeah,
experience from the get-go rather than kind of an add-on after the fact.
exactly. What we find a lot of people really like, both in corporate and in hospitality, is it's a great place. It's a great way to show off your corporate logo. So,
Okay.
like a big moss wall behind a reception desk with the logo in front of it draws people's eye to the greenery, and it makes them remember the logo, and and be aware of whatever the branding is that's there, because the greenery is still quite unusual. You don't see it everywhere, and so being drawn to that, as we all are, it gives you an opportunity for a much longer lasting brand experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, rewinding a bit, talking about the business itself, your business, what inspired you to leap into this particular space? What about your history kind of drew you to this particular product?
Yeah, so I'm an accountant by training. I got my qualifications through a big five auditing firm, and then I worked in telecoms in London for a long time and was very corporate. And then moved in about, when 20, yeah, a long time ago, 2003, moved into my first entrepreneurial venture. I left corporate and moved into an advertising agency with my best friend and my brother. And we built an ad agency and a few other businesses out of that. We built a HubSpot agency. So we have an elite HubSpot agency. So we did all of that stuff. And so I've always come at it from a business point. I'm a business guy first, and I'm a marketing guy and an accountant and a few other things. So now I'm a plant guy, but I'm really a business guy. So we did that, and then I was looking for a new business. I was moving to the US, and I was looking to add a new arm to the business that I had. We're good at marketing, but I wanted to sell a product. I didn't want to sell marketing services anymore. So I wanted to take that marketing skills and really sell something. And so I had the opportunity for a living wall product that we were already helping the manufacturer with. So I brought that product to the US and started in my, classic, started in the garage, just me and one other person. And we went from there, and we explored and we learned, and we found that we had completely the wrong plan. And then we tweaked and we changed, and then COVID came and all of that. And we ended up where we are now, which is a place we're very happy to be in. It's a very, we sell high end products to corporate and luxury kind of environments. We do sell to homeowners as well, but it's a very aesthetic and great product to be selling. So that's a short version of my journey.
All right, awesome. So, what kind of feedback have you received from your clients? I don't know if you've worked with senior living communities in the past, but maybe just in healthcare in general. What's been some of the feedback from I guess, the stakeholders or even the guests of these locations?
So the one thing that I guess I love the most about working in this industry is that I've never met anybody who said they didn't want a green, right? When you see it, you get a smile on your face as you looked over my shoulder and looked at it. Like, that's how we feel about it. So it's a super easy product from that point of view. Now, on the other hand, it's not, there are a lot of people, a lot of the feedback we get is people are scared of living walls, but they've been burned in the past. There were a lot of living wall providers or people that were building living walls, making up their own way. They didn't have a proper system. And a lot of living walls have failed over the years. Um, we think we bring a technology that makes it much more reliable. Living walls do still need maintenance. And so that's another piece of pushback we get, which is part of why we added the moss and the faux offerings, is because a lot of people don't want to pick up a maintenance. They love the idea of having this greenery, but they don't want to have a maintenance company have to come in every month to come and look after it. And it's a living thing. So it does have to be maintained. As much as we can automate the watering and all of that stuff, at the end of the day, plants get brown leaves. Someone needs to check it. So there's work to be done. So we get pushback on the maintenance side, but we have a solution for that through the biophilia and the moss. Other than that, yeah, people just love it. And then it just becomes a conversation around how do we fit it in the budget.
Hmm. Okay. So, for communities that either are under development, a new development, or maybe they're remodeling,
Uh-huh.
what's some advice you can give about design and sort of how can people proactively or architects proactively create a space that would accommodate your product well, like a green wall?
Yes. I mean, I think it's important to consider it early, to get the buy-in of the ultimately the people that are writing the check. Are the owners bought into the idea that biophilia is an important addition to what you're looking to do, right? We want to put a green wall in here. Make sure that you've got the answers as to why you're doing it, not just because it seems to be the trend. And we can help with that. So, if you're thinking of doing it, if you're an architect and you're thinking of doing it in a remodel, let's have a first design call. There's no obligation. Let's look at the space, think about how we can do it, and getting it planned early. If you are going to put in a big green wall, getting it planned early to make sure we can deal with plumbing and all of those things while you're in construction phase. makes it so much easier than if we get down the road and now we've got to retrofit any sort of any sort of plumbing or anything like that. Moss walls and the artificial plants are much easier because they can literally go onto an existing drywall. So if there's a space and you want to put it in, we can put it in. But again, planning it early, getting it in the drawings, and tying in with the mill workers, making sure that the frames match to the rest of the mill work, and just thinking about how that all fits together and integrating it. They always look much better when they look like they're integrated into a design from the beginning as opposed to being an add-on at the end.
Hmm.
Although we've done plenty where it looks like, the one behind me is just a piece of art, right? You hang it on the wall with a French cleat and you're done. So there's lots of ways to do it. But if you want to be really impactful, I think thoughtfully thinking about how you do the moss, where you could put potentially some plants in some planters, what are you putting behind the reception desk, tying it all together makes a big difference to the overall appeal of the thing. And we're happy to help with that design.
Okay. So that obviously answers the question about architectural standpoint and kind of building considerations. I'm curious, have you also worked with any clients that have, for instance, brand guidelines? Obviously, the wall is mostly green, plants are green, but what if there's particular brand colors or logo considerations? You spoke about a logo on top of a moss wall. Do you get
Yeah,
creative with that kind of conversation too? Kind of make it brand specific?
absolutely. So we put logos in front of a lot of moss walls. And I always have, often people will ask, can you make the logo out of moss? And having been in marketing for a long time and worked with some very big international marketing clients, my first question is, well, who from brand is going to sign it off? Because what we do mostly, if we've got a really brand conscious business that most businesses are, do work for people like Coca-Cola and people like that, like there's no way I'm messing with their brand. So what we do is we'll always, in that case, we would always do the logo or whatever branding we're doing, we would have it done by a sign company so that it matches perfectly to the brand, do go off their drawings, make the sign, then we put that in front of the moss. So we wouldn't make it out of moss. So that way you can absolutely respect the brand. Like you say, most of what we do, the natural plants, no one cares. They're green, you get a bit of a match. But as soon as you start trying to match brand colors, you do open up a can of worms that it needs to be done professionally, then it needs to be done with the right Pantone paints and all of that stuff. And we do that all the time. And so many of our moss walls in particular, so many of them have logos that are either embedded into the wall or stand in front of the wall to honor the brand guidelines.
Okay. So it sounds like you've worked with some pretty big companies as well. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some work, a lot of work for T-Mobile and people like that. So
Okay, I
people
can
that are
see that.
very, very brand conscious.
So what advice would you, shifting gears a little bit to, I guess, practical business takeaways, what advice would you give to someone thinking about building a business like yours that serves maybe just the healthcare space? We work a lot in senior living, things like getting at decision makers, who's the right people to talk to? How do you kind of build a brand and grow a unique business like yours?
I think it's senior living is one of the areas we focus on, but we go much broader than that in terms of just corporate.
Mhm.
I think the way we've done it is to just make sure that every single project is a success. I think that for us has been really, really important. And while we offer a very customized product, we don't take on things that we aren't confident that we can deliver. And sometimes we're pushing the boundary, but it's all about getting the planning right and making sure that every project is a success. So we do a lot of work on our website. We make sure we're very visible. We do quite a lot of continuing education. So we run a very successful continuing education process where we educate the industry, architects and designers on living walls in particular. We have a living walls course that we do with green plants for green buildings. We deliver that. We've delivered that course to, a few thousand architects. And I think it's important that for us is important is that we're seen as the experts and things like this. And thank you for the opportunity to sit here and pitch my business, which is not normal for a podcast, but it's very appreciated. And I think being able to be seen as the experts, there are a lot of people in our business. It's not the barriers to entry are not particularly high, very much like marketing, I guess, right? Anyone with a laptop can be a marketing business. Not everyone's done it for 20 years, has got all the scars to show for it and is able to bring that level of experience. And I think that's what we try to stand out on. We try to stand out with good content, being helpful. We've always had that up, in every business I've done. It's how can we be helpful? Like, just if you've got a question, ask us. We'll be helpful. We don't have to get paid now. We'll get paid sometime in the future. It'll come back to us. Just being helpful, being consistent, and being reliable, I think in the corporate space are probably our most important values.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely good core values to have. So just a couple of fun ones to close it out.
Yeah.
Um, you've had a lot of experiences in this company and prior engagements in the marketing agency and so forth. What's one surprising thing you've learned running your own business?
I think for me, and I don't know, maybe it is relevant to your audience, who are probably mostly Americans, moving to America and realizing every day how big this economy is,
Hmm.
right? Everywhere else I've been, you're always fighting for your piece in a bigger niche. And this economy is just so big. And every time I look at it and think about it, it just amazes me again at how big it is, how many customers there are. And so you can be very specific and get very good at what you do because you have to be, because it's so competitive. But you don't have to be all things to all people because there are so many people and there's so much. You just look at senior living and go, how many senior living facilities are there? There's thousands of them. There's people like you making, a whole business out of supporting one area of that. And probably you have lots of competitors who maybe you compete with each other. Maybe there's just lots of people doing the same thing as you. Whereas in a smaller economy, your competitors, everyone's fighting for the same piece of business and you're having to be all things to all people. So that for me has probably been the biggest single learning. And I've been here for 8 years now doing this business. And it's still, every time I look at LinkedIn and see how many people there are doing stuff, I'm like blown away by the
Yeah.
size of this economy.
Yeah, definitely lots of opportunity out there,
Yeah.
which is a good thing for those of us involved
Yeah.
in the business. And finally, when you're not dealing with living walls, what do you like to do for fun outside of work?
I like to play golf.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess that sounds a bit corny, but I guess that part of that is that being out in nature thing, which is great. I do that. I have two kids who are just college age and just past it, so I like to spend as much time as I can with them, and yeah, hang out with friends, and yeah, we like to travel. We like to go camping, explore Southern California in particular. So yeah, bit of travel, bit of golf.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Grant, this has been a great conversation. Thanks for sharing all your insights.
Ben, I really appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my business.
Absolutely. I don't think that we ever shared the name of your business. What's the best way to get in touch with you
That's a
and
that's a good
who you are?
The business is called GrowUp Greenwalls. And the best way to get us is on the website. We're also on Instagram or on Facebook at GrowUp Greenwalls and on LinkedIn. And I'll obviously, you can share I'd love you to share the link
Hmm.
below. But, the website address I think is pretty cool. It's growup.green. There's no .com. So I think that's a good way to remember us. So we're growing up because we're vertical green walls, and we .green because we love everything green.
Great.
And thank you for wearing a green shirt today on this cool podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to our listeners, if you're senior living operations, design, or marketing, and you're looking for ways to make your community stand out while supporting resident well being, I hope today's episode sparked some ideas. You can find links to Grant's website below. You can catch this episode on Spotify and YouTube. And if you'd like more information on what we do at WSI to support senior living growth, you can find us at smithgroup.wsiworld.com. Until next time, I'm Ben Smith, and this is The Net Result.